Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a shortcut deep into a world of biological filtration. We're talking chemical engineering, extreme efficiency, and it's all happening inside your own body.
It really is. We're looking at the excretory system.
Yeah.
And if you think the kidney is just, a simple drain, you are missing the most beautiful part of the picture.
So our mission today is to uncover the architectural genius required to handle the waste products of being alive.
That's it. And it's not just about getting rid of excess water.
No, we're talking about ions, sodium, potassium, chloride, and the big one, nitrogenous waste. That's the stuff from breaking down proteins, and if it builds up, it's toxic.
Highly toxic. And the way life deals with that toxicity is this fantastic lesson in evolutionary trade-offs. You see three main solutions across the animal kingdom.
And it all depends on how much water you can afford to lose, right?
Exactly. It's a trade-off.
Okay, let's unpack that because it's brilliant. So on one extreme, you have animals surrounded by water. Think like bony fish.
Right, or aquatic insects. They have zero reason to conserve water, so they excrete their nitrogen as ammonia. It's a process called ammonotelism.
And ammonia is cheap to make, but it's the most toxic.
The most toxic. So you need a ton of water to dilute it and get it out safely. For them, it's easy. They just diffuse it right out through their gills. The kidneys barely play a role in that specific waste.
Okay, so now let's jump to the complete opposite end, the water conservation champions.
This is where you find your reptiles, your birds, land snails.
Right.
They use uric acid. Now, this is the least toxic form of nitrogenous waste. And the huge advantage is that you can get rid of it as a semi-solid paste, a pellet.
So they lose almost no water in the process.
Almost none. It's the ultimate adaptation for living on land where every single drop counts.
And then there's us, sitting right in the middle, perfectly balanced for terrestrial mammals. We use urea.
We are ureatelic, yes. Urea is intermediate in toxicity, and in the water it costs to get rid of it. We take that really toxic ammonia our cells make, send it to the liver.
And the liver converts it into the much safer, water-soluble urea.
Yep. Then that urea gets dumped into the blood where it finally meets the specialized machinery designed to handle it, the human kidney.
Which brings us to the system itself. So we have the two kidneys, the ureters, bladder, urethra, but the magic is inside that reddish-brown, bean-shaped organ. What are the key zones?
You're mainly looking at two zones that are layered. You've got the outer shell, which is the cortex, and then the inner core, the medulla.
Okay.
And the medulla isn't just a solid block. It's divided into these conical wedges, the medullary pyramids. And that structure, that layering of cortex over medulla is absolutely critical for what we're going to talk about later.
Which is building that salt gradient.
Exactly.
And all the real work, the blood processing, is happening in these tiny microscopic filtration units. Millions of them in each kidney. The nephrons.
The nephrons are the engine rooms,
Right.
correct. Each one starts with what we call the Malpighian body.
Or renal corpuscle.
Right. And this is basically a tiny, dense knot of capillaries called the glomerulus, which is completely wrapped up in a little cup called the Bowman's capsule. This is where the first big dump of fluid from the blood happens.
Okay, so after that capsule, the fluid, we call it filtrate now, it enters a very specific pathway. Walk us through that.
Okay, so first it hits the proximal convoluted tubule, or PCT. Think of this as the first and most aggressive recovery zone.
Grabbing all the good stuff back.
Immediately. Then the filtrate takes a deep dive down into the medulla, through the hairpin-shaped Henle's loop. It has a descending limb and an ascending limb.
Okay.
Then it loops back up to the distal convoluted tubule, or DCT, and finally it empties into a shared pipe, the collecting duct.
And the length of that loop, the Henle's loop, that's what determines the type of nephron?
Precisely. Most of them are what we call cortical nephrons. Their loops are short, they barely dip into the medulla.
But some go deeper.
Right. And those are the ones that really matter for water conservation. The juxtamedullary nephrons. They have these long loops that plunge deep into the medulla. If you want to make concentrated urine and survive without constant water, you need those guys.
Okay, let's get into the physics here.
Yeah.
And the math, because the numbers are just staggering. It's a three-part process, right? Glomerular filtration, reabsorption, and excretion.
That's the symphony. And step one, glomerular filtration, is all about raw volume. Your kidneys are filtering blood at an incredible rate, about 1,100 to 1,200 milliliters every minute.
Every minute. So if your heart pumps out, 5 liters of blood a minute?
The kidneys are processing about 1/5 of your entire cardiac output at any given moment.
That is just a massive volume. And the filtration itself, they call it ultrafiltration. Why ultra?
Because the screen is so incredibly fine. Imagine 3 stacked sieves, First, the wall of the capillary itself. Second, a basement membrane they share. And third, the outer wall of the Bowman's capsule, which has these amazing specialized cells called podocytes.
Podocytes.
Yeah, they wrap around the capillaries like fingers, leaving these tiny little gaps between them, the filtration slit.
So only the really small stuff gets through.
Everything gets through except the big stuff. The only things that are stopped are the plasma proteins. Everything else, water, salt, glucose, amino acids, all the waste, it all just blasts right through into the capsule.
It's a physical screening, not a chemical one.
Not at this stage, no. Purely physical.
Okay, now for the mind-blowing number. The glomerular filtration rate, or GFR, it's about 125 milliliters a minute, which sounds small.
It does, until you do the math.
What's 125 milliliters a minute over a whole day?
You're filtering 180 liters of fluid every single day.
Wait, 180 liters. That's like a huge aquarium. If my kidneys are filtering that much fluid, why am I only producing maybe, 1.5 liters of urine?
And that is the question. That's what transforms the kidney from a simple filter into this master chemical regulator. The huge difference between the 180 liters you filter and the 1.5 you excrete means one thing.
You have to get almost all of it back.
You have to frantically reclaim nearly 99% of the water and all the good nutrients that you just dumped out.
99% recovery. Wow. So that's step 2, reabsorption. This is the real workhorse phase.
Absolutely. The body uses active transport, it spends energy, to immediately pull back the good stuff. Glucose, amino acids, sodium, all the essentials.
Where does most of that happen?
The champion recycler is the PCT, the proximal convoluted tubule. It handles 70 to 80% of all the water and electrolytes, and virtually all of the essential nutrients. If your PCT failed, you dehydrate in minutes.
But it's not just a vacuum cleaner sucking things back up. There's step 3, secretion. This is more about fine-tuning.
This is where the chemical balancing act happens. Your tubular cells will actively pump other things into the filtrate. Things like excess hydrogen ions, potassium ions, even some ammonia.
To get rid of them.
And, more importantly, to maintain the perfect ionic balance and acid-base balance, your body's pH. It's incredibly precise.
Okay, so we've covered the 99% recovery. But now we get to that amazing ability to produce concentrated urine, sometimes 4 times saltier than our blood. And that requires this masterpiece of engineering called the countercurrent mechanism.
This is just beautiful. It's all about proximity and opposing flow. It involves that Henle's loop and a tiny little capillary network that runs right alongside it, called the vasa recta.
And the key is that fluid flows down one and up the other.
In opposite directions.
Yeah.
That's the countercurrent part. And that opposition is what lets the kidney build and maintain a massive salt gradient in the fluid surrounding the tubules.
Okay, how does flowing in opposite directions create a gradient? That feels counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. By having the flow going down and interacting with the flow going up right next to it, you can multiply the effect.
Yeah.
You create this continuously increasing salt concentration. It starts at about 300 millionths moles per liter in the cortex.
Which is normal body fluid concentration.
Right, and by the time you get deep into the inner medulla, it's ramped all the way up to 1200.
4 times the concentration. It's like creating a tiny, super salty desert deep inside the kidney.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that salt desert is what gives us the power to pull that last crucial bit of water back.
So what builds the gradient? What makes it so salty down there?
2 main things: NaCl salt and urea. The ascending limb of Henle's loop actively pumps salt out into that surrounding space. And then later on, the collecting duct itself pumps some urea out, amplifying that saltiness even more.
So as the final filtrate passes through that super salty environment in the collecting duct, water just gets pulled out by osmosis.
Pulled out passively. It's a brilliant physics trick that allows us to live on land.
But a system this clever still needs a boss. It needs external monitoring.
It does. And the kidney's function is under very tight hormonal control, watched over by the hypothalamus, the heart, and a little patch of cells in the nephron itself called the juxtaglomerular apparatus.
Let's start with the one most people know. When you're thirsty, ADH.
Antidiuretic hormone, or vasopressin. This is your primary water retainer. Your hypothalamus is always monitoring your blood concentration. If you start to get dehydrated, it releases ADH.
And what does ADH do?
It basically tells the last parts of the tubule, the DCT and the collecting duct, to become more permeable to water. to open up more channels and pull more water back into the body. It literally is anti-diuresis. It
Ow.
stops you from making too much urine.
Okay, but what if it's a bigger crisis? What if your blood pressure or blood volume drops suddenly? That triggers the big one, the renin-angiotensin mechanism.
Yes, if the pressure drops, your glomerular filtration rate falls. There's not enough force to push fluid through. The specialized cells in the juxtaglomerular apparatus, the JGA, sense this drop, and they release an enzyme called renin.
And renin kicks off a chain reaction.
It does. It starts a cascade that ends with the creation of a molecule called angiotensin II. And this thing is incredibly powerful. It does two things at once.
What's the...
First, it's a potent vasoconstrictor. It clamps down on your blood vessels all over your body, which immediately raises your systemic blood pressure. It's trying to force that GFR back up.
And the second action?
It signals the adrenal glands to release another hormone, aldosterone.
And aldosterone is all about salt.
It is. Aldosterone tells the tubules to reabsorb more sodium ions, and wherever sodium goes, water follows. So the whole system is this aggressive two-pronged attack to raise both blood pressure and fluid volume. Fast.
That sounds like a system that could easily spiral out of control. Is there a check on it? Something to prevent blood pressure from getting too high?
There is. And that's where the heart steps in. If blood flow to the heart becomes too great, a sign of high blood pressure, the muscle cells in the atria release something called atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF.
It does the opposite.
The exact opposite of angiotensin II. It causes vasodilation. It relaxes the blood vessels, which lowers blood pressure. It's the perfect counterbalance.
So once that meticulously regulated fluid is finally produced, it gets stored in the bladder until we're ready for micturition.
Urination, yes.
Okay.
And it's a reflex you learn to control. As the bladder stretches, it sends signals to your central nervous system. When you decide it's time, the CNS tells the bladder muscles to contract and the urethral sphincter to relax.
And what comes out is that light yellow, slightly acidic fluid, carrying the 25 to 30 grams of urea we need to get rid of every day.
And that final product is like a diagnostic snapshot of your body's chemistry. You can tell so much from it.
Yeah, things like finding glucose in the urine glycosuria or ketone bodies, ketonuria.
Exactly. Those are often the first signs of something like diabetes mellitus, because it shows that the nephron's ability to reabsorb everything has just been completely overwhelmed.
Now, the kidney is the star player, but it's not working alone. It has a support team.
A very important one. The lungs are probably the biggest unsung hero. They get rid of huge amounts of CO2, about 200 milliliters a minute, plus a lot of water vapor.
And the liver.
The liver is crucial. It processes and gets rid of bile pigments, cholesterol, the degraded hormones, drugs. All that stuff gets passed out with digestive waste.
Even our skin gets in on the act.
Yep. Sweat glands eliminate some salts, a little urea, lactic acid, and sebaceous glands get rid of things like sterols and waxes through sebum.
The source material even mentions a surprising one.
Oh, yes. Small but measurable amounts of nitrogenous waste can even be eliminated through your saliva. It really is a whole body effort.
But sometimes this amazing system fails. We talked about uremia, urea building up in the blood. How do we even begin to replicate this function artificially?
We use hemodialysis, the artificial kidney. Basically, you drain the patient's blood into a machine. You mix with an anticoagulant, heparin, so it doesn't clot.
And then it goes through the filter.
Right. It flows through these long, porous cellophane tubes. And these tubes are bathed in a special dialyzing fluid.
What's special about it?
It's designed to be exactly like clean blood plasma, but with one critical difference. It has zero nitrogenous waste in it.
Ah, so simple diffusion takes over.
Did the physics.
Yeah.
The high concentration of urea in the patient's blood just naturally flows across the membrane into the clean fluid where there's none. It's just chemical engineering saving a life.
It's a bridge, a way to manage things while doctors treat the underlying cause, which could be anything from kidney stones.
Renal calculi, yeah. Those painful, insoluble crystals.
To glomerulonephritis, which is an inflammation of the glomeruli themselves, those core filtering units.
Right.
You know, after going through all this, the thing that stands out to me is that the kidney is the ultimate proof that biology isn't just soft tissue. It's physics. It's fluid dynamics.
It is. The fact that it filters 180 liters a day and reclaims 99% of it, we don't even feel it happening.
Yeah.
It's just staggering.
And it all comes down to that internal plumbing, the structure.
The structure enables the function. The fact that the body maintains that insane salt gradient from 300 up to 1200, such a tiny space, just by running two tubes in opposite directions, it's just a testament to how physical design can create life-saving chemistry.
That combination of physical location and chemical structure really is the core insight. So let's leave our listeners with this thought. Think back to that trade-off we started with. Ammonia for fish, urea for us, and uric acid for birds and reptiles. What specific environmental pressure, maybe something about food or temperature, would have been so powerful that it drove the evolution of terrestrial life to adopt that highly efficient, water-saving uric acid strategy over the much older, more wasteful ammonia system? That pressure didn't just shape survival, it built the very waste disposal architecture inside every bird and reptile on the planet. Something to ponder until our next deep dive.